The moment my sister's heel clipped my wheelchair, I realized Christmas Eve was about to expose everything my family had been hiding. My name is Eliza Moore. I'm 27 years old, and I work as a freelance graphic designer. 2 years ago, a highway accident crushed my spine and rearranged my entire life. Tonight, Christmas Eve, was supposed to be peaceful. Soft lights, snow-dusted hedges, a family engagement celebration meant to feel warm and forgiving. Instead, it became the night my family finally learned what consequences look like. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the first moment I knew something was wrong. The estate was glowing like a Christmas postcard. Hawthorne Glass Conservatory, just outside Aspen Ridge, all frosted windows and white roses wrapped in twinkling lights. Guests laughed. Champagne popped. My mother kept saying, "Isn't this magical?" Over and over, like if she said it enough times, it would become true. I rolled in quietly, my wheelchair humming beneath the music. Black frame, polished rims. The same chair my sister Madeline always said looked too dramatic for photos. Madeline, 29 years old, luxury lifestyle influencer, queen of curated perfection, was glowing in ivory silk. Her fiancé stood beside her, smiling like he'd just won a prize he didn't understand yet. When she saw me, her smile tightened. Just for half a second. Enough for me to feel it. People think being in a wheelchair means you miss things. You don't. You notice everything. The way conversations dip. The way eyes linger too long. The way your own sister looks at you like you're a stain on the holiday tablecloth. I positioned myself near the edge of the conservatory, out of the way. That's what I always do. I'd learned that lesson early. But Madeline didn't want out of the way. She wanted invisible. As photographers gathered everyone for engagement photos, she hissed my name without turning around. "Eliza, don't roll into the frame." I laughed softly, trying to keep it light. "I won't. Relax." Her jaw tightened. "Just don't make this about you." Okay. That sentence landed harder than she knew. Because this has always been about me making things awkward since the accident, since the hospital bills, since the attention shifted, since I stopped being useful as her background character. The music swelled. Glass clinked. Snow began falling outside like it was on cue. And then it happened. A sudden shove. Not enough to look intentional. Just enough. My wheelchair lurched sideways. My balance tipped. I grabbed the armrest too late. The world tilted into a blur of lights and screams as my chair collided with a champagne display. Crystal, gold-trimmed, expensive enough to make people gasp. Pain exploded through my back. I hit the ground hard. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. Someone laughed nervously, thinking it was part of the spectacle. I couldn't feel my legs. Again. Madeline stood over me, eyes wild, voice sharp and loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stop faking for attention, Eliza. It's Christmas Eve. You're embarrassing me." The room froze. Blood seeped into the white runner beneath me, mixing with spilled champagne. I stared up at the lights, blinking fast, trying not to cry. Not here. Not like this. Then footsteps rushed forward. A woman knelt beside me, hands steady, voice calm. She stabilized my neck with practiced precision. She asked my pain level. She checked my pupils. She knew exactly what she was doing. Madeline didn't. Because she didn't recognize Dr. Evelyn Hartwell, 56 years old, orthopedic spinal surgeon, quietly formidable. The same woman who rebuilt my spine with titanium screws 24 months ago. And the groom's aunt. Dr. Hartwell looked up at Madeline slowly. "You touched her wheelchair," she said, voice even. Madeline scoffed. She lost control. "No," Dr. Hartwell interrupted. "I saw the push. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a family drama anymore. This was the beginning of something irreversible. Hold on, before we get into the real stuff, I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? Cooking. Lying in bed. Hiding from your family? Tell me in the comments. Because in a few minutes, you're going to understand why this Christmas Eve ended with lawyers, police reports, and a truth my family spent years burying. And Madeline. She had no idea what she'd just unleashed. The silence after my sister's lie was louder than the crash, and then Dr. Hartwell said 4 words that changed everything. Call an ambulance. Now. Her voice cut through the conservatory like ice cracking. Conversations died mid-sentence. Phones lowered. Someone finally reacted. My mother rushed forward, hands fluttering, eyes darting between me and Madeline like she was watching 2 disasters compete for attention. Oh my God, Eliza, are you okay? Madeline, what happened? Madeline's face shifted instantly. Not guilt. Not fear. Calculation. She threw herself, Madeline said quickly. Too quickly. You know how she gets. She panics when people stop paying attention. There it was. The story they'd been telling for 2 years. I lay on the floor, staring at the glass ceiling above me, snow drifting slowly beyond it. Christmas Eve. Of course it was Christmas Eve. The one night a year everyone pretends to be gentle. Dr. Hartwell didn't look at Madeline. She looked at me. Eliza, she said softly, don't move. I need you to tell me exactly what you're feeling. My back, I whispered. Sharp. Like fire. And pressure. Her jaw tightened, not in panic, but recognition. Okay. Stay with me. She slipped her coat under my head with the same calm authority she'd had in the operating room 2 years ago. That familiar steadiness made my chest ache more than the pain. Madeline crossed her arms. Is this really necessary? You're making a scene. Dr. Hartwell finally looked up at her. I watched you place your hand on her chair and shove, she said evenly. If you say another word, I will personally ensure it's documented. A ripple moved through the crowd. Madeline laughed. Too loud, too brittle. You're exaggerating. It was crowded. Accidents happen. But accidents don't have witnesses who happen to be spinal surgeons. My father cleared his throat, that old reflex to smooth things over. Let's not ruin the evening. We're all emotional. It's Christmas Eve. That sentence hurt more than the fall. Because it was the same sentence he used when Madeline borrowed my college fund and never paid it back. When she told people my accident was partly my fault. When she suggested I was milking it to avoid responsibility. Always peace over truth. The ambulance arrived fast. Lights flashing against the snow, red and blue reflections bouncing off the glass walls. Paramedics lifted me carefully, their faces changing when they saw Dr. Hartwell. Ma'am, one of them said, instantly respectful. We've got it. She shook her head slightly. I'm coming with her. Madeline stiffened. You don't need to. Yes, Dr. Hartwell said. I do. As they wheeled me out, I caught Madeline's eyes. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about the room. The whispers. The phones coming back up. The perfect Christmas Eve slipping out of her control. Outside, cold air hit my face, sharp and clean. Snowflakes melted on my cheeks like tiny apologies. The doors closed, muting the party behind me. Inside the ambulance, the pain finally caught up. I cried quietly, staring at the ceiling, hands clenched. I didn't do anything, I whispered. I stayed out of the way. Dr. Hartwell squeezed my hand. I know. Her voice softened. Eliza, has she done this before? Not physically, but this behavior. I hesitated. Micro-hesitation. the kind that carries years inside it. She's always said I exaggerate, I said finally. That I use my chair to control people. My family believes her. Dr. Hartwell exhaled slowly. That ends tonight. Those words landed heavier than any medication. At the hospital, scans confirmed what I already felt in my bones. No new fractures, but severe trauma. Muscle damage. Nerve inflammation. Weeks of recovery. Pain that would linger long after the Christmas lights came down. Dr. Hartwell stood at the foot of my bed, arms folded. This was preventable, she said quietly. And it was intentional. I swallowed. My family will deny it. She nodded. That's fine. We don't need them. She paused, then added, the conservatory has security cameras. I already asked. My heart skipped. They do. Yes, she said. And the footage is very clear. For the first time that night, I felt something other than pain. Relief. And something darker. Something steadier. Madeline had always believed she could rewrite reality if she spoke loudly enough. But this time, reality was recorded in high definition. And Christmas Eve was just getting started. I thought the footage would expose my sister, but I wasn't prepared for what it revealed about my entire family. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and pine-scented cleaner, a cruel nod to the holiday. Somewhere down the hall, someone laughed. Christmas Eve didn't pause for spinal trauma. Dr. Hartwell returned just after midnight. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. They tried to delete it, she said. My stomach dropped. Delete what? The security footage from the conservatory, she replied. Your sister asked the event coordinator to handle it quietly. I closed my eyes. Of course she did. But, Dr. Hartwell continued, she underestimated two things. First, how fast digital backups work. Second, how little patience I have for nonsense. She placed her phone in my hand. The video began 10 minutes before the fall. I watched myself on screen, smiling politely, positioned away from the photo setup. I watched Madeline glance at me, scan the room, then step closer. Then I saw it. Her hand. The deliberate push. The pause afterward, just long enough to see me lose balance. The room spun. Not from pain. From confirmation. I hadn't imagined it. I hadn't exaggerated. I hadn't been sensitive. She did it. Dr. Hartwell sat beside me. This is assault, Eliza. On a person with a disability. On Christmas Eve. In front of witnesses. My chest tightened. My parents will say it was an accident. She nodded. They can say whatever they want. The law doesn't care about family narratives. A knock interrupted us. My mother stepped in first, eyes red, mascara smudged. My father followed, jaw tight. Madeline wasn't with them. That alone told me everything. Oh, sweetheart, my mother said, rushing forward. We were so scared. I said nothing. She noticed the phone in my hand, the paused frame of Madeline mid-push. Her face flickered. What is that? She asked carefully. The video, I said. From the conservatory. Silence fell heavy. My father cleared his throat. Eliza, we don't need to turn this into something bigger than it is. Dr. Hartwell stood. With respect, it already is. My mother clasped her hands. Madeline is under a lot of stress. Weddings do that. She didn't mean. She meant it, I interrupted. My voice surprised even me. Steady. Low. She always does. My mother flinched. I have spent 2 years apologizing for being injured, I continued. For being inconvenient. For costing money. for existing differently. And every time she humiliated me, you asked me to understand her. My father looked away. Dr. Hartwell spoke calmly. I'm advising Eliza to file a report. And a civil claim. My mother's head snapped up. A lawsuit? Against her own sister? On Christmas? I laughed. It came out broken. She pushed me out of my wheelchair on Christmas Eve. That landed. Finally. My father rubbed his temples. If this goes public, it will ruin her engagement. Dr. Hartwell's eyes hardened. Good. The room went quiet again. That's when Madeline walked in. Perfect hair. Perfect coat. Perfect expression of wounded innocence. She looked at me in the bed and sighed. I can't believe you're doing this. Something in me snapped. Not loudly. Cleanly. I didn't push myself, I said. She scoffed. You always twist things. Dr. Hartwell held up the phone. We have the footage. Madeline froze. Just for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. So you're really going to destroy your own family over this? That question changed everything, because for the first time I saw it clearly. To her, I wasn't a sister. I was collateral. I looked at my parents. If I press charges, I asked quietly, will you finally tell the truth? My mother hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. Dr. Hartwell leaned toward Madeline. You should call your lawyer. Madeline's smile cracked. You wouldn't. I met her eyes. Watch me. As she stormed out, my mother began to cry. My father followed her silently. I lay back against the pillows, heart pounding, not with fear but clarity. For the first time since the accident, I wasn't the problem. And Madeline's perfect Christmas Eve? It was about to unravel in ways she couldn't edit, delete, or smile her way out of. I thought pressing charges would be the hardest part, until my family decided to choose sides. Christmas Day arrived without sleep. The hospital room glowed with soft yellow lights, a paper wreath taped crookedly to the door. Somewhere, a nurse hummed a carol. It felt surreal, like the world insisting on joy while my own family quietly fractured. Dr. Hartwell returned early, coffee in hand, legal calm wrapped in professionalism. I've spoken to a colleague, she said. Disability assault. Emotional distress. Negligence by the venue for allowing interference with evidence. You have options. Options. That word used to scare me. Too many choices meant too much responsibility. But now it felt like oxygen. I want accountability, I said. Not apologies. Not silence. She nodded. Then we proceed. The police arrived mid-morning. 2 officers. Polite. Efficient. They watched the footage without blinking. One of them shook his head slowly. That's a clear push, he said. Intentional. Hearing it stated so plainly made my hands tremble. A report was filed. Statements taken. Dr. Hartwell made sure every medical detail was documented. And then my phone began to buzz. Missed calls. Texts. Group chats lighting up like fireworks. Mom, please don't do this. Families forgive. Dad, let's talk privately. Aunt Rachel, you're going too far. Madeline, you're dead to me. That last one didn't hurt. What hurt was the message right after. From my mother. She's your sister. I stared at the screen. I typed back slowly. And I'm your daughter. No reply. By afternoon, the story had escaped the conservatory. A guest had posted a shaky clip online. Just the aftermath. Me on the floor. Madeline shouting. The caption read, Christmas engagement gone wrong. Comments exploded. People saw the wheelchair. The blood. the accusation, and they asked questions my family had avoided for years. Madeline's influencer page went dark within hours. Dr. Hartwell sat beside me as notifications rolled in. "This will escalate," she said. "Are you ready?" I took a breath. I've been ready since the accident. I just didn't know it. That evening, my parents returned. They stood awkwardly at the foot of my bed, like visitors in a stranger's life. My father spoke first. "Madeline is hysterical. She says you're trying to ruin her." I looked at him. She already did that herself. My mother clasped her purse. "If you drop the charges, she'll apologize. Publicly. We can move on." Move on. The phrase tasted bitter. "I don't want her apology," I said. "I want her to stop." Silence. Dr. Hartwell stood. "This conversation is over." After they left, the room felt lighter, quieter, like something toxic had been removed. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, memories flooding in. Madeline laughing when I struggled with crutches. Madeline calling my pain convenient. Madeline telling relatives I liked the sympathy. I realized something then. This wasn't just about one push. This was about years of permission. The next morning, December 26th, Dr. Hartwell brought news. "Madeline's fiancé canceled the engagement," she said. My heart skipped. "He did. He saw the footage," she replied, "and the messages she sent afterward. He said he didn't recognize the person she became when she felt threatened." I felt no joy, no triumph, just stillness. Consequences don't always feel loud. Sometimes they feel final. Later that day, Madeline called. I let it ring. She called again. Then a message. "You win. Are you happy now?" I stared at it for a long time before replying. This was never a game. I turned my phone off. Outside my window, snow fell gently, covering the city in white. Christmas decorations still twinkled, pretending everything was normal. But inside me, something had shifted permanently. For the first time, I wasn't bracing for impact. I was standing my ground, even from a hospital bed. And I knew one thing for certain. The hardest part of this story wasn't over yet. I thought the worst betrayal had already happened, until my family made their final move. By December 27th, the hospital felt less like a refuge and more like a holding cell. My body ached, but my mind was sharper than it had been in years. Too sharp. The kind of clarity that doesn't let you go back to pretending. Dr. Hartwell arrived with a thin folder tucked under her arm. "They're fighting back," she said. My stomach tightened. "Madeline." "Your parents," she replied gently. "That hurt more than anything else so far." "They've hired a private attorney," Dr. Hartwell continued. "Their position is that this should be resolved internally, quietly. They're arguing diminished responsibility due to emotional stress." I laughed bitterly. "So now she's the victim." Dr. Hartwell didn't smile. "They're also questioning your credibility." The words hit like ice water. "How?" I asked. She hesitated. "They're using your medical history, suggesting anxiety, trauma response, misinterpretation of events." Of course they were. 4 years, every tear, every flare-up, every moment of weakness had been catalogued as proof that I was unstable, that I couldn't be trusted to narrate my own life. I closed my eyes. "They're choosing her." Dr. Hartwell placed the folder on the bed. "They're choosing the version of the family that's easiest to preserve." That night, my phone turned back on. Messages poured in from relatives I barely knew. "Blood is thicker than mistakes. You're humiliating your parents. Think about the holidays." The holidays. as if December granted immunity. I didn't respond. The next morning, I was discharged. Dr. Hartwell arranged to transport herself. As the wheelchair rolled me into the cold winter air, I felt something I hadn't felt since before the accident. Independence. She walked me to the car. "You don't have to do this alone," she said. "Legally or otherwise." "I know," I replied. "But I think I have to do it honestly." She nodded, understanding more than she said. Back at my apartment, I opened the door to silence. No decorations. No tree. No family photos on the walls. Those had come down months ago, quietly, one by one. I made tea. I sat by the window. I let myself feel it all. Then the doorbell rang. I didn't answer. It rang again. I rolled over slowly and looked through the peephole. My parents. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. My mother spoke first. "We need to talk." I gestured inside. "You have 5 minutes." They sat stiffly, like guests afraid of breaking something. My father cleared his throat. "The lawyer says this could get ugly. Public." I nodded. "It already is." My mother's eyes filled. "We raised you better than this." That sentence landed like a slap. "You raised me to endure," I said quietly, "not to be protected." Silence. My father leaned forward. "If you continue, Madeline could face serious consequences." I met his gaze. "She already did when she pushed me." My mother reached for my hand. I pulled away. "This isn't just about her," I continued. "It's about every time you told me to be quiet so she could shine." My mother whispered, "We were trying to keep the family together." I smiled sadly. "By breaking me?" They left without another word. That night, I made a decision. I posted the full footage. Not with anger. Not with commentary. Just the truth. Within hours, it spread. People saw what my family refused to. Madeline issued a statement the next day, carefully worded, tearless, apologetic without responsibility. It didn't help. Sponsors dropped her. Invitations vanished. The image she curated for a decade collapsed in a weekend. I felt no joy watching it happen, only relief, because the story was finally being told by the person who lived it. And the most shocking part? I wasn't afraid anymore. I was done protecting people who never protected me. And somewhere deep down, I knew. The final confrontation was coming. The lawsuit didn't scare my sister, but the truth under oath did. January crept in quietly, like it didn't want to disturb the wreckage left behind by Christmas Eve. Decorations disappeared from windows. The world moved on. My family didn't. Court dates were scheduled. Statements were formalized. Suddenly, everything that had been whispered for years had to be said out loud. Slowly, carefully, under penalty of perjury. Dr. Hartwell prepared me thoroughly. "This isn't about revenge," she reminded me. "It's about record. Once it's recorded, it can't be rewritten." That mattered more than winning. The deposition took place in a quiet conference room that smelled like coffee and printer ink. I wore a navy sweater, my hands folded neatly in my lap. Calm on the outside. Steel underneath. Madeline arrived late. She looked smaller without the ring. Less polished. But the same sharpness lived behind her eyes. She didn't look at me. Her lawyer spoke first. Polite. Smooth. The kind of voice trained to make uncomfortable things sound reasonable. "Miss Moore," he began, "have you ever exaggerated a medical condition for attention?" I expected the question. "Yes," I said evenly. "When I was 6 and wanted a day off school." A pause. Then a few quiet chuckles from the back of the room. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Since your accident, have you struggled with anxiety? Yes, I replied. After learning I might never walk again. That's documented. And during times of stress, do you sometimes misinterpret situations? I leaned forward slightly. No. During times of stress, I interpret them very clearly. Dr. Hartwell's lips twitched. Then it was Madeline's turn. She swore the oath with her chin lifted, confidence practiced into her posture. For a moment, I wondered if she actually believed her own story. Her lawyer guided her gently. Did you intend to harm your sister? No, Madeline said quickly. Never. Did you touch her wheelchair? Madeline hesitated. Just long enough. I might have brushed past it, she said. It was crowded. Then the footage played. No commentary. No emotion. Just truth. The room went silent. Madeline's face drained of color. Her lawyer cleared his throat. Ms. Moore, can you explain why your hand is clearly applying force? Madeline swallowed. I don't remember it like that. The lawyer pressed. So the video is incorrect? Silence. Her jaw tightened. No. That single word echoed. From there, everything unraveled. Text messages were entered into record. Witness statements. The attempted deletion request. The pattern, dismissal, minimization, control. Even my parents were called. Watching them testify was harder than the fall. My mother cried. My father avoided eye contact. When asked why they defended Madeline initially, my father said quietly, because she's always needed more help. I almost laughed. Afterward, in the hallway, Madeline finally looked at me. You planned this, she hissed. You enjoyed humiliating me. I met her gaze. I enjoyed being believed. She scoffed. You always wanted to punish me. I shook my head. I wanted you to stop. Her expression cracked. Not into remorse, but fear. Because she realized something then. She no longer controlled the story. The settlement came faster than anyone expected. Madeline's legal team pushed for it. Quiet resolution. No trial. Admission without admission. Dr. Hartwell brought the papers to my apartment. They're offering compensation, she said. Medical costs. Damages. And a written acknowledgement of harm. I read it slowly. What about accountability? I asked. She met my eyes. This acknowledgement becomes public record. That was enough. I signed. The money didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure paperwork. 2 days later, my mother called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I don't recognize our family anymore, she said. I hope one day you understand why we did what we did. I deleted it. Understanding didn't mean accepting. That night, I sat by the window, city lights flickering below, and felt something unfamiliar settle into my chest. Peace. Not the loud kind. The earned kind. But just as I began to believe it was over, my phone buzzed. One message. From Madeline. I hope it was worth losing your family. I stared at the screen and smiled because she still didn't understand. I hadn't lost my family. I'd finally stopped losing myself. And the final chapter, it hadn't even been written yet. The moment I realized my sister had underestimated me, I knew Christmas Eve would haunt her forever, but in a way she never saw coming. The winter sun slanted through my apartment windows, dusting the hardwood floors with gold. Outside, the streets sparkled with frost and leftover holiday cheer. Inside, I sat quietly, nursing my tea, replaying the last month in my head. Madeline had tried to erase me, manipulate me, make me feel invisible. She had succeeded once, years ago, But not this time. Not after Christmas Eve. Not after Dr. Evelyn Hartwell had stepped in. Not after the footage proved what words could not. I hadn't spoken to my parents in days. Their messages piled up on my phone. Please, guilt trips, reminders of family values. I didn't delete them. I just didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because I had learned something vital. My family's love had always been conditional. But my self-respect, that was mine to defend. And defending it didn't require permission. Madeline's next move was almost predictable. She tried to contact mutual friends, asking them to mediate. She offered apologies disguised as explanations. She painted herself as stressed and misunderstood. Her words were rehearsed. Hollow. They couldn't undo the evidence. And then came the unexpected twist. A few days ago, the engagement was officially called off. Not quietly, not politely. Social media lit up with murmurs, rumors, and the leaked footage. Madeline's carefully curated image collapsed, pixel by pixel, in front of everyone who once admired her. People who once followed her every post suddenly began questioning her character. They saw her manipulation, her cruelty, her denial. They saw the sister who had tried to make me invisible. And somewhere in the chaos, I felt a strange sense of power. Not from vengeance, not from the money, not from the legal victory, but from clarity, from owning my truth, from surviving the storm and standing taller because of it, even if I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet physically. Dr. Hartwell visited me that evening, her presence a steady reassurance. She smiled as I showed her a new sketch I had been working on, a subtle mix of winter and warmth. "You've grown stronger," she said. "And smarter." I laughed softly. "You make it sound like I didn't have to fight." "You did," she said. "But you did it right. Truth always wins, even when it feels slow." Later that night, I found myself staring out the window again. Snowflakes drifted lazily against the darkening sky. I thought about Madeline and the lessons this Christmas Eve had carved into me. The lesson wasn't just about survival. It was about boundaries. About not letting anyone, even blood, dictate my worth. About speaking when silence is demanded. And then, finally, I allowed myself to smile. Because Christmas Eve had ended, yes. But my story wasn't over. It was just beginning. I decided to take a step further. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for other people who might be silently trapped in similar family dynamics. I began documenting my experience. Not for clicks or views, but to show that truth matters. That courage isn't always loud. That justice sometimes arrives quietly, but when it does, it can change everything. 1 week later, I received a message from a follower who had watched the story unfold online. "Thank you. I never thought I could stand up to my family like this, but seeing you, I can." Reading that, I realized something. My fight wasn't just personal anymore. It was universal. A story of resilience, of survival, of truth shining brighter than manipulation. Madeline never apologized. Not sincerely. Not once. She sent letters, brief texts, empty gestures, and I ignored them all. The law had acknowledged what she refused to admit. Public record validated my experience. Christmas Eve had been a battlefield, but it had also been a mirror. It reflected not just the cruelty of others, but the strength within me that even my family couldn't take away. By January 10th, I had returned to my studio. Sketching, planning, working. My wheelchair rolled silently across the polished floors. I felt light for the first time in months. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had reclaimed my agency. I paused, thinking about my parents and my sister. Did I forgive them? Not yet. But that's the difference. Forgiveness is a choice. Control is not. And the truth is always mine. So here's what I want you to take from this story. Never let anyone make you feel invisible. Never let family, or anyone else, control your narrative. Stand up. Document. Protect yourself. Because when you do, even a Christmas Eve that starts with betrayal can end with empowerment. And now, before we close this chapter, I have to ask you, what would you have done in my place? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. If this story moved you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab for more true stories of survival, courage, and justice. And remember, sometimes the quietest person in the room has the loudest impact. Because my Christmas Eve ended in chaos, but it also marked the beginning of reclaiming my life. And that, my friends, is a story worth telling.